Hi there. Just going through my CFS, the old CFS, thinking about taking a trip maybe and avoiding birds. Anyways, welcome to the superpilotish channel. My name's Graham Wilson, and today I'm going to be talking all about birds in my basement. Okay, so I was looking at this little book here. It's good for flight planning in Canada, and I thought I saw something in there about bird migration, and I don't think it was in there. I think it was in the Aeronautical Information Manual, but it's in there somewhere. And so I'm going to be talking today first uh, about flying your airplane and avoiding birds. What happens if you hit a bird? Stuff like that. And then at the end, because I'm sort of I wouldn't say I'm an official birder, because that's quite the commitment and religion, and I'm not quite that committed to it. But I'm kind of a we'll say a super amateur birder. I like to be up in the air, and they like to be up in the air. So what's not to like about birds? So yeah. So the first thing I'm going to be talking about is well, if you are flying, it's going to be, and I'm going to have a little whiteboard out here today. Um, yeah, if you are flying, you're going to come across birds, and you will have to avoid them. So, whoop, there we go. Bird avoidance, we'll call it that. And yeah, so ideally you don't want to hit a bird because they're cute, except for seagulls. They're dirty. Well, no, they're all right. So, anyways, I've unfortunately in my pilot career, now that I'm semi-retired, but yeah, I've smoked a couple of birds here and there. Well, they're having a bad day. We're feeling like they had to end it, so they decided to play chicken with my airplane, and they lost. So, but yeah. So, what? Just kind of briefly going over how to avoid birds. You gotta think like a bird. Get in the bird's head, and adjust this a little bit here. Here we go. Yeah. Anyways, yeah. So what do birds do? How do they fly? Right. So they fly just like airplanes do, except they flap their wings. Okay, maybe they don't fly like airplanes, but they go through the air. And so anytime that a bird will want to, like, it can't really climb that fast. It can turn pretty quickly, but the best way that birds try to get out of the way is they just fold in their wings and drop down. So they lose altitude. And it's always funny when you see, well, I don't know if it's really funny, but it's interesting anyways. When you're flying by and you see a hawk or an eagle or something like that, and it gets startled when you fly by, and then it just folds in its wings and just kind of just just plunks out of the sky. It's kind of funny. It's like, whoa. And then so anyways, so there's always the question of, how do you avoid the birds and things like that. There's not much you can do. They generally get out of the way. And so the best way is to just kind of make yourself more visible. And hey, Wrench, welcome to the chat. So, number one, lights. Okay, so most of the time that when you're hitting, if there's a bird strike, most of the time it's not when you're way up and high up in the air. It's when you're coming into land or you're taking off. So, if there's a lot of bird activity around your airport, it wouldn't hurt to turn on your landing light. Landing lights are really bright, catches the bird's attention, and then it'll hopefully get out of the way. So I did that once before where there was a whole bunch of seagulls. I was just about to take off, and I was with another instructor. So, or he was a long story, but yeah. Anyways, he had more experience than me actually, and I saw these birds on the runway, and I'm like, well, I can't just gun it and go through there. And he said, oh well, let's put on the lights. So he stuck on the landing light, strobe lights, and because it was during the daytime, and we just kind of taxied up slow, and then they saw us, they scattered off the runway, and then off we went. So that's pretty cool. And so you just want to be more visible, and part of that is you have to be careful of, okay, well, we'll say I have a little list over here of just a few points. Uh, it's all about timing here too. What time of year are you flying, and what time of day are you flying? Okay, so here we go. Number two. What time of year and what time of day? So around here, there's a whole lot of bird migration that goes on. It's in the fall. So they're all the birds are going from here, going down south. And so, like, I'm in Windsor, Ontario. So anywhere from about Windsor up to Toronto, up to probably about Ottawa. There's all these birds that are migrating from all the way, they could be coming down all the way from the Arctic and they're on their way south. But the birds don't really like to, for some reason, they don't like to cross the water. I guess they like to be gliding distance to the shore, just like all of us pilots. And so what they'll do is they'll kind of come along the where would it be? Lake Ontario, Lake Erie, along the Great Lakes there, and they'll kind of follow the shoreline. And so they all kind of gather up, and they're not quite sure what to do. And actually, if you they kind of gather right around here, around Point Pelee National Park, which is not too far south from here. And it's this little point that goes into Lake Erie. And so that's the closest point where they can kind of jump off and go across to the States. So they'll usually kind of gather on that little point, and once there's a big wind from the north, they all get up and they fly across the lake. So until that happens, they're all kind of gathering and flying down, and so there's a lot of bird activity in the fall around here. And some of those are turkey vultures. They like to, those are big birds. If you hit one of those, you're damaging your aircraft. And they like to, anyone that's ever flown a glider, I never have, but I've talked to people that have, and they see these turkey vultures all the time in hawks. They like to just, they kind of just coast, and they thermal up with all the, just like a sail, just like a glider does. They just kind of, here's an updraft, and they just kind of circle around and up they go. And then they can just conserve a lot of energy, and they get up high and they can fly, to where they got to go. So time of day too. So time of day is okay. Generally, you're not going to have much trouble if you're flying at night. So I don't know if you've ever noticed this, but birds only fly VFR. So you can tell that the birds, you just pay attention to it in the summertime, especially when there's lots of birds chirping. Is that they fly just about the same as VFR airplanes during the daytime. The official daytime, roughly, depending on where you are, is it's kind of like a half hour before sunup to a half hour after sundown. And so once and if you check that on the local weather, whatever your local weather sunup or sundown time is, sunrise, sunset, and then like official night starts before that or after that, you'll notice that the birds are all quiet and asleep, or everything just shuts up. A half hour the sun goes down, there's no more birds. And then once you hear the birds waking up and chirping a lot, a half hour later the sun's going to come up, roughly. So anyways, so that's something to consider too, all your little birds. But there are the nighttime birds. So there's the birds that migrate at night, geese, they like to fly at night for some reason. And I know somebody that did hit a goose, and it's a big bloody mess. Luckily, the plane wasn't damaged, but there's guts all over the strut on the 172. It was pretty gross. But no one found it till the next day. And then, there's like, what happened to the plane? Someone hit it. I guess they probably didn't fess up, because you would have heard and felt that one. So, big birds can do damage. And I'll show you some damage that happened to my plane. I was with a student, and the leading edge, this was I was teaching some air cadets, and they made me this a little souvenir of the leading edge of the wing of the plane that I was flying. We hit so here's the side view of it. I'm going to try not to show their names, but yeah, there's that's just a little part that was kind of cut out. It's not sharp. They cut it out. and the good people at Piper had to do an engineering drawing to kind of patch that up. So that's what can happen to your leading edge of your wing. That used to be curved around, and then they just kind of this actually comes out, and then yeah, they gave me this, and it was if you can see that, it says for Graham Wilson, a striking instructor, because it was a bird strike. Ha ha ha. So that was nice that my their supervisor Matt did the woodwork, and I think they gave me like a gift certificate or something too for I don't know, Tim Hortons or something. But anyways, and then they all signed it, and that was one of my students and I made that clunk. It was weird because we hit the bird, and it was just on takeoff. We felt this clunk, but I felt it in my feet. I might have told the story before, but I felt it in the rudder pedals or in the floorboards of the plane, and you could kind of hear it and feel it. And it was so I thought maybe it hit the landing gear in the front, or maybe the fairing in the front. But it turns out it was at the leading edge of the wing, and all that vibration went through the spar, and we felt it in our feet. So, anyways, when we came back and landed, there was this big dent in the leading edge of the wing, and now I got a nice souvenir from that. But that was from hitting a seagull. And okay, what else we got to do here? A couple other little bird avoidance tips here. So, okay. So, like I said before, you can't outdive a bird. So, if you're flying around in the air, here we go. You can just turn your airplane to try to avoid them, and don't dive, because your passengers will throw up on you, or it'll just be like, not the greatest. You don't want to do that. So yeah, there's that. So you can just turn out of the way. That's the best you can do. And another one here too, if you see some birds way off in the distance, you can always try to get above them. If they're way off in distance, you can always climb a bit. There's a lot of times, generally birds, what I've found, whether it's geese or swans or seagulls, or most of those birds will hang around about 1,000 feet above ground and lower. So if you're up there, you really don't see a whole lot of birds unless, like I said, the turkey vultures, they can go up to 3,500 feet quite easily, eagles, stuff. But yeah, it seems like it went right around 1,000 feet. The birds don't really like to go much higher than that. So that's something to consider too. One time there was, I saw a flock of swans that were flying, and that was kind of interesting because it was right around the airport, and it was right at the pattern height or circuit height, as we say in Canada. And there was this white, it looked like there was a plane there, but what it was it was a flock of swans, and it is all white. And it's just like, is that a plane? And they're all at the same, they're flying in formation at the same altitude, but all squished up together. And those are big birds that look like a plane from a distance. So, we just thought, well, I don't know if that's a plane or birds or what. Let's climb up. And then we got a little closer, and it was a flock of swans. So that's something different. And okay, what else we got here? I got my 4 points here, and I was trying to think of a fifth one. Yeah, that's about all I got, because you can yeah, all right, well, we'll just do a little recap on that. Okay, so be as visible as you can with your lights. Be mindful of the time of year and the time of day, if you know anything about birds. What else we got here? Turn out of the way, don't dive out of the way. Some planes aren't really, if you panic, some planes aren't stressed for that type of negative G. And you can climb if you want, safely climb. So that's the way to avoid the birds. Now, the other part of this I'm talking about is my amateur birding. And so I kind of got into that because I was on vacation years ago. I don't know. I kind of, I guess I was sort of semi-interested in birds and flying and stuff like that for a while. But to actually go out and get the book, the birder book, this is the one to get, the Peterson Field Guide. Okay, this has got all your different types of birds in there well, this is for North America. And, How many types of seagulls are there? There's a whole bunch of different types of seagulls. So, and once you got your book, you can say, "Oh, yeah, that's a ring-beaked gull," and okay, that's a another type of gull. And so, anyways, the first birder book that I bought, birder book, build back better. Anyways, this is like a heavy duty one. The first one I bought was I bought it. It was at Theodore Roosevelt National Park in North Dakota, and we're noticing that, like, what are these birds? Because it was out west, it's totally different than the birds are different than around here, and it's kind of a prairie out there. So it's like, what are these birds? They look weird. And it's like, that one's got a great big long tail on it, and but it's sort of a crow, but not really. And then, hey, Shecky, I see you in here too. Welcome. Uh, yeah, so I was like, what are these birds? So we went to like the little nature center there, and I guess I kind of met my very first birder person. So I was looking at it was kind of a smaller version of this. I keep this in my camping gear. I have like a Rubbermaid container, like a little tote there, and I just throw it in there. So every time I'm out camping, I got some time. Yeah, I can just kind of whip out the book and say, "Hey, what's that bird?" Oh, hey, Dustin, welcome. And DH Pilot One, welcome too. So yeah, it was like I was looking at this little. It was probably about half the thickness of this, and it's kind of a you can almost fit it in your birder vest pocket kind of thing. And so I'm looking at this bird book, and this lady kind of looks over my shoulder, and she says, "Are you a birder too?" I was like, okay. Not really, but I kind of like birds. She's like, oh, if you're gonna get into it, that's the book to get. And it's like, oh, okay. Oh, Peterson's the best. And I'm like, okay, yeah, that's nice. Okay. And she was a nice lady. And she's like, "Oh, are you staying here? My husband's a birder too. We can birder. We can go birding. You know, no, that's okay. I'm just looking at a book." So, anyways, but it was like we ended up finding. I think it was a grackle I was looking at. It had a big long tail. That was the one that really got me into it. Where are we here? It's got like little maps of where, I don't know, just different little migration patterns where you can find them in the spring and in the winter, stuff like that. Pretty sure it was a grackle. I should find that. Okay, that would be under blackbirds, cowbirds, meadowlarks, sparrows. Do you know how many different types of sparrows there are? Holy moly, there's tons. You don't really think about it until you start getting into birding. Oh no, can't really find it really easily. But yeah, I'm pretty sure it was a grackle that had the big long tail. And I was like, okay, cool. And what else was it? Saw a nighthawk out there too. Nighthawks, they have stripes on their wings. And yeah, anyways, do you want to go birding with me one day? But yeah, so that was kind of how I got into the birding there. And it's just, yeah, I just kind of throw it in my camping stuff, and I kind of take a look out if something looks a little weird. What was it? We were looking, and that was another thing too. When I was out camping the last time, we were looking at there was some different type of herons and stuff. It was like this one time I saw the oh, that was it. It was a type of duck we were looking at that was weird. Oh yeah, I thought it was a merganser, and it was a hooded merganser, I think. Oh well, there you go. Oh, yeah, cool. It's like, oh yeah, look at that chimney swift. That's cool. Oh yeah, the good old chimney swift. You ever seen that one? It's a cigar with wings. We had some chimney swifts. They were made a nest in our chimney for a few years, then they kind of disappeared. Well, the chimney swifts are interesting, but I could talk about birds all day, but I'm not going to. But yeah, suffice to say, if you are going to get into birding, get yourself a Peterson field guide. And then, oh, that's another thing too. So we were there, and then we went down to South Dakota. So we wanted to check out Sturgis there, not when all the bikers were there, but just to see the town. And then so we were in Rapid City. I went to the Walmart in Rapid City, bought myself a pair of shorts because it was super hot out there, and I picked up a pair of binoculars. And so if you are I bought the wrong binoculars. So if you're going to be a birder, you want to get into the binoculars. I thought I'm going to get the best ones here so that you could see super far with it. But I mean, you're not spotting for a sniper or anything like that when you're looking at birds. This thing is like you could really see far. Totally useless for birds. Like so. Yeah, if you're going to be buying any binoculars, you don't need anything fancy or really long range. You just need some just standard, do a Google search for your favorite best birder binoculars. Don't go out and get the big ones like I did. But that was like kind of pre-internet. I didn't know. Or I was just on vacation. I'm like, yeah, I'm going to get into birding. I'm going to get these like varmint hunter, super extra long sniper rifle, kind of scope thing. But yeah, no, anyways, it's getting dusty in a closet upstairs, I think. But anyways, yeah, you want to get into birding? There you go. There's that. What else can I tell you here? Oh, well, that's just fun stuff. So, okay. Yeah, that's about it for today. Just wanted to talk about birds. Stay away from them. What else could I tell you about birds? Yeah, the big ones. Big ones can do damage. That's seagull size. But yeah, little ones like swallows, sparrows, they don't really do too much. It's kind of like hitting a big bug, like hitting a dragonfly or something like that. Makes a splat, but generally it's not going to damage anything. I could see maybe it'd take out an antenna, maybe. But yeah, that's about it. Okay, I'll go through and check out see if there's a few questions in here. I think I saw some. And so we'll go through and check it out. Okay, and Wrench's first question. So, Wrench was damaged the windshield of a Cessna 152 once. There's nothing you could do yet. And would a horn help? I don't think. The thing is, I don't think any type of horn would help for any types of birds. I know they have some types of, people, they can put these things on their car and it's like a frequency that keeps the deer off the road. I still don't think that would really work for airplanes too much. Because I mean, just the speed of sound and how noisy your airplane is, that's probably going to be noisier. Like a propeller is pretty loud. It's going to be louder than a horn. So I don't think there could be, what do we got here? So I don't think a horn would help you. That's just my own personal opinion. And then what else we got here? Okay, and Wrench is also saying that Canada geese are super prolific around middle USA now. And can you guys start hunting those geese that make a terrible amount of airplane damage? Yeah, hunting Canada geese is illegal in Canada unless you're a native and you're living up north and you want to get some goose food. They can go for it, but no one else can. So it's and people just feed those geese and they just hang around. Like they don't even migrate from my town. They'll go crap down by the water all the time. It's pretty gross, but people feed them and then they hang around and eat grass and people. Yeah, I don't know. It's geese, man. What are you gonna do? And they just like walk across the road. They don't care. It's like, you better stop, car. But if you nudge them out of the way, if you just kind of keep moving up slowly, you can move the geese out of the way. What did we have here? Wild turkeys were hanging around here too, and they just if you nudge them, they'll move out of the way. So either with your bumper or with your foot. Okay, here we go. What else we got here? And Shecky was talking about how in Orange County, California, we have green parrots, non-native, hundreds. They've been here for 40 plus years. They got let loose from a zoo. That's interesting. Parrots are pretty cool. But what else we got here? Okay. Well, and yeah, Dustin, I'm glad that you learned new stuff on the stream. I try to keep it not too, I like to keep it like related to airplanes, but I mean, you can only talk about airplanes so long, and most believe it or not, pilots out there, most people don't care about airplanes. So I'm going to get less views if I just talk about airplanes. But I think this summer I'm going to be making a few more videos and stuff where, get a GoPro in the cockpit and you'll see me flying around and stuff. So it's not just some dude hanging out in his basement and I got to kind of prove I can do it. Right. But it should be fun. But the weather's still just not quite cooperating yet, but it's just gonna statistically the worst 2 months, January and February are done here, and things are getting better, and I'll be up flying a bit more. Oh, and yeah, Shecky, you might have missed it. Where did I get this dent model here? That was a seagull. Did that to the leading edge of a plane that I was flying. Actually, my student was flying it at the time. And so that's a little souvenir for me. And what else we got here? Okay. Yeah. So, anyways, that's about it for today. Today is Monday. Hopefully, you learned a little bit about birds. Yes, maybe you might have known it, but it never hurts to jog your memory sometimes if you're a pilot. Oh, yeah, that's right. Should I? How do I avoid birds? Maybe there's one thing you learned today, and if somebody learns one little thing every day at the end of the year, it's 365 new things you learned. So hopefully I got something there for you. And yeah, there we go. Okay, so we'll shut her down. Today is Monday, so I'll be back on Wednesday because I do this Monday, Wednesday, Friday at noon Eastern. We'll just kind of shut her down. So thanks for watching. Bye.